She was drunk when she confessed, "I was never attracted to you, and I can't stop seeing other men."
Her words hit me like a slap.
Then she passed out. By sunrise, I had made my decision. I disappeared. No notes, no goodbyes. My name is Phil, and I've always believed that hard work could fix anything. It's how I was raised. Put your head down, work hard, and everything else falls into place. That mindset shaped my entire life, especially my marriage. For as long as I could remember, my days were a blur of meetings, deadlines, and deals. I worked tirelessly, waking up early, hustling all day, and coming home too exhausted to do much more than say goodnight to my wife. But I told myself it was all worth it. I was building a life for us, ensuring she'd never have to worry about anything. Even when I wasn't working, she was always on my mind. How to make her happy, how to give her the life she deserved. I brought her gifts from my work trips, planned weekend getaways to make up for lost time. It was never perfect, but I figured she understood. Love isn't about perfection, it's about showing up and trying. At least, that's what I thought. Looking back, I see now that I was wrong. But at the time, I didn't realize it. I believed that working harder meant loving harder. Lately, though, something had felt off. She barely acknowledged me. At first, I brushed it aside. We had only been married 2 years. I figured we were just settling into routine. But deep down, I knew something wasn't right. I just didn't want to believe it. I told myself she was stressed, tired, or going through a phase. I thought if I worked a little harder, showed her how much I cared, things would go back to how they used to be. I was convinced that love and effort could fix anything. Turns out I was very wrong. When I realized things were tense between us, I decided to do something about it. I thought maybe a romantic dinner could help us reconnect. Maybe I was being naive, but I believed in trying. I spent the entire afternoon preparing. I cooked her favorite meal, chicken parmesan with garlic mashed potatoes, something I hadn't made since our first date. I set the table with candles, dimmed the lights just right, and played a soft, slow playlist of songs she used to love. It was my way of saying, I see you. I miss you. I'm trying. When she walked through the door, she looked surprised. Wow, she said, glancing around. Her eyes landed on the table. For a moment, I thought I saw something, gratitude, maybe? She kissed my cheek, sat down, and smiled. We started eating, and for the first time in months, the conversation flowed. She laughed, joked about how I was secretly a better cook than her. And for a brief moment, I thought maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back. But after her third glass of wine, everything fell apart. She was drunk. At first, it was subtle, leaning back in her chair, her words slowing, her expression loosening. I didn't think much of it until she set her glass down, looked me straight in the eyes, and said, "You're a nice guy.
You take care of me.
That's why I'm with you." I froze. "What do you mean?" I asked, keeping my voice steady even as my stomach twisted. She laughed, soft, but with a hint of pity. "I mean, I've never really been attracted to you. Not in that way." Her words hit me like a freight train. But she didn't stop there. She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand, speaking as if she were telling me a casual story. "You're sweet, gentle, safe, but you're not my type." Then, she described her type. Someone rougher, with an edge, someone who breaks the rules. Someone who was the complete opposite of me. And then, as if that wasn't enough, she dropped the final blow. When I met him, my type, I just couldn't resist. One thing led to another. She trailed off. But she didn't need to finish. I already knew what she was saying. I sat there, nodding like a fool, as my wife poured out the truth that shattered me. My chest felt heavy, like I couldn't breathe. But outwardly, I stayed calm. Because at that moment, something in me snapped. This wasn't an apology. It wasn't even regret. It was a drunken justification, like she wanted me to understand why she betrayed me. And in that moment, I realized I didn't need to yell. I didn't need to argue. I didn't need to fight. I just needed to listen. And then decide what to do next. That night, as I lay in bed, I knew there was no going back. Her words kept replaying in my head. How I wasn't her type, how she stayed with me because I was safe, how she found what she really wanted somewhere else. It wasn't just the betrayal that hurt. It was how casually she admitted it. Lying there in the dark, listening to her soft snores, I felt no anger. Only clarity. Fighting wouldn't change anything. She had already shown me who she was. And I believed her. Confronting her would only give her a chance to justify herself. She didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve a fight. She didn't even deserve closure. She deserved to understand what life without me really meant. By sunrise, I had made my decision. I wouldn't be there when she woke up. I'm not a man who acts impulsively. When I make a move, I do it with precision. That morning, I left the house the same way I always did. Quietly, deliberately, with no sign that anything was different. Except this time, I wasn't coming back. The first call I made was to my lawyer. I needed to separate my life from hers. Next, I called my accountant. He was sharp, one of the best. Within hours, he began liquidating my shares in our jointly owned investments. By the end of the day, my accounts were empty, and I had full control over my assets. Then I reached out to my family. I didn't give them all the details, I didn't need to. But I made one thing clear. Don't entertain her. Don't share my whereabouts. If she calls, tell her nothing. I wanted her to feel the full weight of what she had done, without anyone to cushion the fall. Finally, I left a message with my lawyer for her, something for when she inevitably tried to reach me. She would get the divorce papers soon. No explanations. No apologies. Just the cold, hard reality of what she had lost. A few weeks later, the papers were served. I heard from my lawyer that she tried reaching out, calls, emails, even showing up at his office. I didn't respond. She begged for an explanation, but what could I possibly say that she didn't already know? At first, she hesitated to sign the papers. Maybe she thought she could salvage what we had. Maybe she didn't want to lose the stability I had provided. But when she saw the financial settlement, she caved.
I wasn't surprised.
She always prioritized herself. And just like that, the chapter was closed. When I walked out of that marriage, I wasn't thinking about what would happen to her. I just wanted to be free from her lies, her disrespect, her complete lack of care for me as a person. I thought, let her have the life she wants. And for a while it seemed like she did. At first, she enjoyed her new life, free, single, and financially secure, thanks to the settlement I had worked so hard to build. She went out more, surrounded herself with distractions, new clothes, new places, and, of course, new men. I heard she even joked about how she was finally living the life she deserved. But here's the thing about people like her. They never think past the moment. She thought freedom meant doing whatever she wanted without consequences. But life doesn't work that way. Eventually, it catches up with you. And one of those so-called freedoms caught up with her in a big way. She ended up pregnant. I found out through a mutual acquaintance, the kind of person who couldn't resist passing along gossip. Apparently, it wasn't planned. Not that I expected it to be. And the father?
Gone.
The moment she told him, he disappeared. No calls, no texts, nothing. She was left to deal with it alone. But it didn't stop there. She burned through the settlement money like it was nothing. By the time the baby came, she was drowning in debt. She had to sell her old house, well, her house at that point. It was the last piece of the life we once shared. Then there were her friends, or what was left of them. People like her attract the same kind of people, shallow, selfish, and only around when things are fun. The moment she started asking for help, money, babysitting, a shoulder to cry on, they disappeared one by one. I guess even her best stories couldn't keep them entertained anymore. She got what she thought she wanted, freedom. But that kind of freedom comes with a price. She lost everything that truly mattered because she never valued it in the first place. Do I feel sorry for her?
No.
But I wasn't sitting somewhere, rubbing my hands together, celebrating her downfall either. I just didn't care. She was a chapter one had closed. Some people think they're escaping something when, in reality, they're running straight into a wall. That was her. She ran. And when she hit that wall, there was no one left to catch her. Years passed. My life moved on, not in some flashy, dramatic way, but quietly, steadily. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Then one day, she found me. I was at home, sitting by the window with a book in hand, when the doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened the door, there she was. She looked the same. Not bad.
Put together.
Carrying herself with that same air of confidence I once admired. But her eyes, they were searching, studying my face. Seeing her again stirred nothing in me. Just a cold, quiet detachment. She stood there for a moment, waiting, as if hoping for permission to speak. I didn't give it. Finally, she started talking. "I've been trying to find you for years," she said, her voice low, trembling. "I needed to tell you how sorry I am. I made a mistake. A terrible mistake. And I've paid for it every single day since." She paused, waiting for me to say something. But I didn't. I just leaned against the doorframe, watching her squirm. "I thought I could have everything," she continued, her hands clasped together, trembling. "I thought I could find excitement somewhere else and still keep you. But I was wrong. I didn't realize what I had until it was gone." Her words spilled out, desperate, messy. She told me how her life had fallen apart, the failed relationships, the debt, the loneliness. She even admitted she had been left pregnant and alone. Tears streamed down her face. "Please," she whispered. "I need you. I've never stopped needing you." I leaned forward, locking eyes with her. I wanted to make sure she understood. This wasn't a conversation. This was the end of one. "You made your choice," I said, my voice calm, firm. "You were never attracted to me, remember? I wasn't your type. So go find your type. See if he still wants you now." She flinched, as if my words had physically struck her. But I wasn't finished. "I don't care what you regret. I don't care how much you've suffered. That's your burden to carry, not mine. Don't ever show your face to me again." And with that, I stepped back, closed the door, and walked away. Without a second thought. I didn't need her explanations, her apologies, or her regret. That part of my life was over. There was no reason to reopen it. Losing her had been painful. It had torn me apart in ways I didn't know I could break. But it also forced me to rebuild. And I'm still rebuilding. Sometimes, the greatest gift you can give someone who betrays you is your absence. And sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is walk away and never look back. In losing her, I found myself. And that, I realized, was the only closure I would ever need. So let me ask you, if you were in my shoes, what would you have done?
Think about it.
You plan a special dinner to reignite the spark in your marriage, only for your wife, the woman you vowed to spend your life with, to tell you, between sips of wine, that you're not her type, that she's been with other men behind your back. What would you do? Would you stay and fight for someone who never valued you? Or would you walk away? I'm not here to tell anyone what's right or wrong. But let me share something I learned the hard way. If someone shows you they don't respect you, believe them. Leaving isn't easy. It's painful, messy, lonely at first. But being alone is better than being with someone who makes you feel like you're not enough. And when you walk away, you open the door for something better. Even if that something better is just peace.